Hi, thank you for joining me today. Today's going to be a bit different. So up until now I've been doing lots of cooking videos, but today I wanted to talk a little bit about cooking. So all my videos are aimed at, and my products aimed at helping people to cook quickly at home, but cooking healthy, nutritious food that tastes good as well. So not ready meals. But today I wanted to talk about the theory behind that and how I managed to go from not being able to cook as much food as I wanted to because I was so busy working long hours. By the time I got home I was really tired and I just didn't have the energy all the time, so I would inevitably end up buying a takeaway on the way home if I was treating myself, or more often than not a ready meal, which just made me feel really guilty, and it wasn't healthy. So I decided to really spend a lot of time analysing what it was that was getting in my way. I mean, I was working really long hours, I know that. So during the week I was tired and I didn't have time. I mean, sometimes I was getting home at 10 in the evening, you know, sometimes it was midnight. So in those situations I was eating at work. But when I was getting home at sort of 8, I was still very tired. So I needed something to help me out. And at the weekends as well, I was really tired. I was still trying to recover from the week. And so whilst I'd cook, maybe it wasn't as efficient as it could have been. So I really needed to kind of deconstruct my cooking style and work out what would work for me. And also, one thing I learned was about trying to work according to my cooking style rather than trying to work against it and trying to say, all right, well, you know, I've got to cook at 8 o'clock. That's clearly not going to work for me. So trying to work around that but still manage to cook. Sleepover, so yes, I've got my loungewear on. We're in lockdown, it's fine. So that's kind of the background to why I needed to do something about it. And let's be clear, how I came to this sort of new way of cooking was with a lot of trial and error. It was by accident, you know, it wasn't really kind of a focused strategy, but looking back I can now see exactly what I did to try and implement it and what worked and what didn't work. So in the end I've distilled it down to this 3 steps that have helped me. One is to plan. Within that, that's kind of analysing your cooking style, working out how to work with your cooking style in order to cook what you want to cook. Also planning on a day-to-day basis, so like meal planning and all of that kind of stuff. Purchase, there's 3 P's. So purchase is about stocking up, getting all the food in, how to do that efficiently and how to make that work within your lifestyle. And the third one is prepare. So it's about, once you've got your food in, how you actually manage to get yourself to prepare the food. So that's my 3-stage plan approach: plan, purchase, prepare. And it's about kind of distilling those 3 elements and really understanding what worked for me, and hopefully some of that could work for you. So let's see. So planning, right? So one of the things, this was the biggest part. Actually, I've got a blog post if you want to read it. It's on my website, factulicious.co.uk, and it's called, let me see what it's called. It's called How I Formed the Habit of Home Cooking. So it's the latest blog at the moment. So I think it's worth having a read if you're interested in this topic, because I'm talking about it, but obviously I'm not going to necessarily go through everything. I might talk about slightly different things. And so what I'm looking at actually is the blog post to try and remind myself of what I want to say next. So the key thing is that everybody has a different style of cooking, and I think what I would do is I would look at other people's method and think, oh, actually, you know, they're doing quite well at eating homemade food every day, or at least sticking to their plan. What is it that they're doing that I'm not doing? And I try to fit in with that. So I've got some friends that they know exactly what they're going to eat for each meal every week, so each dinner every week, and they have it sort of listed on a chalkboard in the kitchen. I do know that they tend to stick to the same things on each day of the week, and so that probably makes it easier to shop. But I wouldn't be able to do that, so that wouldn't work for me because I like to have variety. And I think a lot of the things that they cook are quite easy. Sort of, maybe it'd be a quiche from the shop, so that's like warming it up, or jacket potatoes. So they're kind of quick prepare foods that are maybe sometimes half ready made. So you know, that works for them. That's great, but it wouldn't work for me because I like to have the majority of my food cooked from scratch. So and I like the variety. So it was really good, but I was trying to kind of learn from someone whose cooking style is very different to my own. So then there are other people that completely freestyle it, and so they'll go shopping, and I'm talking about my mum, right? So she'll go shopping and just buy like stuff that we tend to eat. And because she cooks from scratch mostly, it will be things like vegetables, grains, some sauces like maybe pesto and stuff like that. I'm trying to think what else would be on the shop. Milk, cheese, bread. So you know, that kind of stuff. You know, basics and cook from scratch stuff. Tin tomatoes, a lot of tin tomatoes. Garlic, ginger, chilies, coriander. That's pretty much the shopping list. And so from that we can make lots and lots and lots of different things, but those things are, I suppose, you're limited by what you have. You're constrained by what you have, but you know, you can still make a lot of stuff, and that's great. That really does fit in with my cooking style, but not my lifestyle, I guess, because I just didn't have time to cook from scratch when I got home from work. You know, it just wasn't working for me. So I needed something different. So I realised that I needed something, I suppose, in between the two extremes that I've explained. So I needed something that's got the flexibility of cooking when you want, but I need something that's easy to make when I'm in a rush, or even at the weekend when I'm tired and I'm lazy and I need some time out. So as I say, you just got to flex it according to what works for you. And for me, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't miss a bit here. So what worked for me was having something in the freezer that I've cooked beforehand that I can just take out and defrost in the microwave, really, and then have some side veg with that, again, like frozen, so that I don't have to prep the veg, and maybe some carbs with it, so maybe like some rice, again frozen. So I feel like I'm having like a full meal, but it's already made. So I'm not I'm not compromising. So I'm not spending any time in the kitchen. But I'm still eating really good homemade food that I've made myself, that I enjoy eating, that's healthy and tasty. And it's quick. Now, one of the things that I always thought I would do is batch cook, and then the night before take out a portion, put it in the fridge to defrost, and then put it in the microwave when I get home after work. But to be honest, I now know that that's not what I'm going to do, because I don't get around to put it in the fridge the night before. So I know that actually I'm going to have to defrost it when I get home, and that's fine, because you know, I get home, all I have to do is put it in the microwave. I can go and, you know, get changed into my loungewear, and then grab the food once it's cooked at the microwave. So it worked, you know, it really worked. And once I realised that that's what works for me, I was onto a really, you know, a real winner. I think the key though for me was to have, because I like variety, is to have a lot of different meals in the freezer so that I can choose what I want. So one day I might want a fish pie, and another day I might want pulled pork. So I definitely need to have a well-stocked freezer full of meals that I've pre-prepared. And then I also need different sides. So like I said about vegetables, I was okay with having similar vegetables, but what I like is to mix. So my mains, let's say it's pulled pork, I might want to mix it up in the way that I have it. So one day I might want to have it on rice, the next time I have it I might want to have it with a jacket potato and then cheese on top and maybe a dollop of yogurt, thick Greek yogurt. Another day I might actually want to have it with pasta, or sort of like pasta sauce, and like tone it down with more tinned tomatoes to make it into more saucy, and then have it with pasta, for example. So there's different ways of using the same meal, and so then the key then is to make sure I've got all of those other things in the cupboard or in the fridge ready to have. Right, and when I had those things in the freezer, what was really interesting is that it made me feel good. So going from getting a takeaway or having a ready meal, which would make me feel guilty for eating those foods, I went to, and it'd make me feel lethargic, it'd make me feel stodgy, and it just didn't make me feel good. Whereas when I got home and I had a pre-prepared meal from my freezer that I'd actually cooked before with the vegetables and the side, I'd feel smug, I'd feel good, I'd feel accomplished, I'd feel like a domestic goddess. And it's incredible how different just that tweak makes you feel. So, you know, for me that was well worth investing in and just figuring out how I can make that happen. So that's one way I need to cook when I'm really busy. I just need it to be out of the freezer, in the microwave, done. But then there were times when, so I'm still analysing my cooking style here, so then there were times when I was still quite busy, but I'd have a bit of energy to cook. So this might be when I maybe want to spend 10 to 15 minutes maybe in the kitchen, and that would mean that I don't want to do too much prep, but I want to kind of use my flair, my cooking flair, and come up with something that I really enjoy tasting, that's kind of fresh in the sense that I've just constructed it myself. So that might be something like using a frozen chicken breast, and maybe like defrosting that. So you can get portions of chicken breast, portions of fish fillets, lots of different types of meats and fish, I think, really, that you can, and corn products as well, and tofu, for example, but things that can be frozen in portions, so, or they are already frozen in portions, and you just take them out of the freezer, and they can cook in the microwave without having to be defrosted overnight beforehand. So I made sure I stocked up on those. And so what I would do, for example, I'm just thinking one dish that I would have made would have been putting I'm trying to think of the exact dish I made, and I can't really remember the exact details because I don't plan my food. I just kind of like, I don't follow recipes, I just make things as and when, so I can't exactly remember what I did, but I think I might have defrosted the chicken in the microwave and separately fried off some mushrooms, like actually frozen mushrooms, which frozen veg is so easy to prepare, well, it's prepped for you, so you just take it out of the bag and put it into your frying pan or whatever, and it cuts out so much time, cuts out so much food waste, and actually frozen veg is quite often cheaper than the fresh. So yeah, just some frozen mushrooms, fried them up, and then I might have added some like cream, so it's good to have double cream or something like that in the fridge, but you can freeze them in ice cubes, so you can just take out what you need when you need it. that's a really good tip. There's other good tips like that as well, like you can freeze garlic. This isn't in the blog, this is on the video. So you can freeze the garlic, cloves, and then when you want garlic you just take out a clove, put it in, like, so get a mug, fill it with boiling water a little bit, put the cloves of garlic in there just for a few seconds, and then they'll come out. You can easily peel them and chop them, use them just like normal. Green chilies as well, you don't even have to do anything, you just take them out, wash them and chop them and use them. They're great. So there's lots of things like that that I have kind of just sitting in the freezer ready for me to use when I need it. Where was I? Right, so fried mushrooms, and then I would put some cream in, like I said, and then maybe some some cheese, if I had some blue cheese, maybe something tasty. I might grate that in and mix it in, salt, pepper, mixed dried herbs. Mixed dried herbs are like my go-to. They're amazing, they're really good. So I'd highly recommend having the dried mixed herbs in your cupboard at all times. And to be honest, that's all you really need. You know what I've just said, and maybe some garlic granules if you've got, or garlic powder if you've got that in. Flex it to what you've got in the cupboard. Anyway, so that's what I did, and then once the chicken is cooked, I might sort of smother it all over, some frozen veg cooked on the side, and if I had some I think some rice would go well with that, so like often freeze portions of rice, take that out, defrost, cook it, put the chicken on top of that, and then the veg on the side with the sauce on top. Job done. You know, that is such a nice meal. But it takes hardly any prep because the rice was ready made, the veg is pre-prepared, the chicken is just defrosted in the microwave, the mushrooms didn't need peeling or anything, chopping or anything. It just needed a bit of time cooking in the saucepan. So I mean, it's hardly any effort, but that's for times, those kinds of dishes are for times when I have a little bit of energy but not too much, and in order to do those kinds of dishes I need to have those types of almost like prepared foods that aren't like ready meals, like just in their plain form, like chicken breasts, vegetables, that I can use to put together a meal. And then there's other times when I do have lots of energy and I want to cook, and I love cooking. When I'm cooking, my mind switches off and I kind of, all my stresses melt away and I forget about all my problems. A lot of people say that when they're exercising, they forget about everything, but for me it's when I'm cooking. So my mind completely switches off, I'm completely absorbed in cooking, and I really enjoy cooking. So the whole point is that I love cooking and I want to cook, but I found that I couldn't cook because I was working long hours. So sometimes I'd like to really go to town with cooking. In fact, I like doing that a lot. It's just not having the time to be able to do it. So I'd also need food in order to do that, right? So after much kind of thinking about it, I realised that there are 3 types of cooking that I do. The quick type, when I've just got in and I just literally need to be able to heat something up. The kind of bit where I'd use ingredients that have been kind of pre-prepared for me, but in their natural form that I can then put together into a meal. So I can spend 10 to 15 minutes in the kitchen and have a meal. And then the other one is where I might want to spend an hour cooking from scratch and just, really enjoying it. And that would be like my pastime. That's, like a hobby rather than the chore side of cooking. So, yeah, I had the three types of cooking plus sometimes actually I'll just want a ready meal, or maybe just bung some pasta in a pan and put some either ready-made sauce. If it's ready-made, it's usually pesto. I'm not keen on tomato-based ready-made sauces, but to make a tomato-based ready-made sauce is so to make a tomato-based pasta sauce from scratch is actually so easy that it might as well be ready-made. I can talk about that in another. I could just tell you now what I do. What I do if I wanted to make a ready-made. If I want to make a tomato-based pasta sauce from scratch, but very, very quickly, really in its most simplest form, I can heat some passata with a bit of garlic and basil and salt and pepper, and that's a really lovely tomato sauce done. Something else you can do is have, I'm saying passata. Passata's great because it's just literally liquidized tinned tomatoes. So you could use tinned tomatoes, liquidize them. If you don't have a blender, you can grate them, and that kind of breaks them down in half. Chopped tomatoes, chopped tinned tomatoes. They're good, but I think they need whizzing up in a blender if you have one, or mushing if you can mush them, because I think the pieces just don't kind of break down enough in the time that you cook them for pasta sauce. I mean, obviously you can use fresh tomatoes to make a pasta sauce, but that's time consuming and that's not what this video is about. This video is about being quick. So yeah, passata is the best bet, but you can use tinned tomatoes as well, and just whiz them up. If you've got time to fry some onions, fry them. You can get frozen onions as well. If not, it really doesn't matter. And heat the passata up. So put a bit of oil in the pan, then put the passata in. If you've got a little touch of curry powder, you could put that in, or you can do Italian herb, like mixed herbs, salt, pepper, a bit of garlic. If you've got fresh garlic, you put that in with the oil before you put the tomatoes in. If not, you can just put in garlic powder or garlic granules. It's really good to have that handy because I find that I'm always reaching for it. I love it. So yeah, that's a basic pasta sauce. It's really easy to make, so it's not really worth. If you really want a really easy pasta sauce that I've just started, sort of just discovered recently, is passata or whizzed up tinned tomatoes with a little bit of pesto in it. Job done. I actually use that as a pizza base. I did a video on making a pizza from using my flatbread kit. So easy, like in minutes it's ready. But I deleted it because I didn't think it looked very nice in the video. So I'm going to do another one. But yeah, look out for that. Anyway, I digress. So there are four types of cooking that I do. One is like ready meals. Don't like it, but every now and then it's called for, which would include pasta with some sauce. The second thing is when I have my homemade pre-prepared ready meals, so something I made myself that's in the freezer that I just heat up. The third is when I make a meal from the ingredients, but they're all frozen ready, easy to cook ingredients. And the fourth style is when I go to town and cook a proper meal. So I'd identified the four different types of cooking that I do, and then I also thought about what I would consider to be a proper meal, and I came up with saying that usually, not always, but usually it would consist of the main piece, which might be, say, the chicken with the mushroom sauce, or it might be the pulled pork, or it might be the fish pie. So that's the main bit, and then, or it might be a curry, or tagine, or a flan, or a pie. So it's the main thing that's on the plate. Then next to it I'd have some carbs, so it might be rice, it might be potatoes, it might be some other kind of grains. Bulgur wheat, for example, is something I'm going to have later on today. Flatbreads, bread, and then I'd have some sides of vegetables. I really think it's important to get the veg in, so I really do try and have veg with most of my meals. I find it hard to have it with breakfast, but with my lunch and my dinner, I'm conscious if I don't have veg with it. So the veg, again, like frozen veg or salad. So always have like salad's really easy to prepare, and there's some really easy salads to make. Like sometimes I just grate a carrot and then mix in soaked, and then dress it with a little bit of yogurt, not much, just enough to kind of coat it with some vinegar, maybe some oil, but not always oil, salt and pepper, some mixed herbs, and some capers. Really good, really, really good, and it's such a quick and easy salad to make. So veg, so the side would be veg and salad, and then some flavour boosters. So things like sauces, seasonings, spice mixes, chili powder, harissa, lemon juice, yogurt, cheese even. Those types of things just kind of finish the dish off, maybe even garnish. So, just to recap, those 4 things are the star piece, the main ingredient, the main part of your meal, the carbs, the veg, and some flavour boosters. And also try and remember to make sure that the meal's got protein in it. So I eat a lot of vegetarian food, and so part of my veg might actually be pulses to try and boost the protein. Right, okay, so what did I do next? Just bear with. So then I had to think about how often I would cook each type of meal. So I know that I've got 4 different types of meals that I cook, and I know that a good meal for me has those 4 different components. And so I need to think about how often would I cook each one of those types of meals during the week, because if I know how many times I cook one of those meals, then I know how much I need to buy to be able to cook those meals. So I'm hesitating because the word shouldn't be cook those meals, it's like prepare for those meals, and I'll explain why in a moment. So with batch cooked meals, so the ones that I have in the freezer that I just heat up when I get home, I might only have them for I might have it 3 or 4 times a week. So, but I'll have different meals. So one day I might have the fish pie, one day I might have the pulled pork, another day I might have curry, another day I might have tagine, right? They'll all come out of the freezer, but they've all been made at different times, different weeks. So I need to think, okay, if I'm going to have 4 of these meals a week, then I need to batch cook to replenish those 4 meals. So if when I batch cook, I say I make 8 portions that go straight in the freezer, then I'll only need to replenish those meals once every 2 weeks. Even though I'm making 1 meal all the time, that's going to then last a number of weeks, and then like in a couple of weeks I can make another batch cooked meal. So it's just working out how often I need to replenish my batch cooked meals. More often than not, it depends what I'm making actually. Sometimes I might make something where I only freeze 4 portions, in which case I'd need to do that every week, right? So determining how often I need to batch cook means that I can then plan a time for when I'm going to batch cook, but also I can plan when to buy what I need to buy to do that, but batch cooking and decide what I'm going to batch cook. So I'm not deciding what I'm going to eat the following week, I'm deciding what I need to cook the following week to ensure that I have enough food to eat, and I'm not restricting myself to what I'm going to eat. It's any of those ready meals that are in the freezer, because I know that I don't like to be constrained by a meal plan where I've decided what I'm going to have on each day. It makes me feel like, right, so then in terms of the meals where I kind of construct it from, so I need ready meals. That was one of the things I need. So I might need 1 ready meal in the fridge just for times when I'm really not feeling great. And then I might need the batch cooking. And then there's times when I'm only doing like the constructing kind of frozen bits together to make a meal. So if I say I'll probably do that a couple of times a week, then I need to just make sure that I replenish that as and when things run out, or as and when things are running low. So the way that I do that is as soon as something's running low, I'll just add it to my shopping list, and then I know it's done. And then cooking for like the proper cook up. So that I might do like once or twice a week. And what I tend to do for that is make sure that I've got all the non-perishables, so like all the sauces, all the condiments, stuff that's in the freezer, store cupboard ingredients are all I'm stocked up on that all the time. So as something runs out, generally I just put it on my shopping list straight away. And then the main ingredients that I might need to do a cook up, sometimes I'll buy that when I'm doing my shopping. If I think, oh, actually, yeah, I am going to use that, I do fancy doing that, I know when I'm going to do it. If not, then I'll get those fresh ingredients when I'm closer to the time when I know that I'm going to cook, or even on the day I'll just pop out and get them. It's so convenient these days, you know, we've got corner shops, we've got express shops, we've got supermarkets down the road, so it's not a big deal to just go and pop out to get a few things when I want to cook a big meal, if I don't already have it in stock. So that's how I know what's on my shopping list. And on the blog, I'm not going to read it all out now, but I've got like a list of some examples, not a full list, of things that I might have on my shopping list to make sure that I'm all stocked up. So I suppose there's three elements to being stocked up. One is making sure my freezer's stocked up, one's making sure my fridge is stocked up, and the other is making sure my store cupboard is stocked up. And each thing will be kind of different. So freezer's got to have the ready meals, the frozen veg, the chicken breast, the fish fillets, and that kind of stuff. In the fridge, I'll need things like cream cheese, milk, salad, things like chorizo, sauces, olives, capers. And in the store cupboard, I'll need things like tins, stock cubes, pasta, herbs, seasoning, that kind of stuff. Pretty much read out the list now. Okay, so that's pretty much having the shopping list sorted. So that's the planning. That's the planning part done, right? So it's quite a long chunk. So the next couple of chunks aren't so long. The next bit is purchasing. So this is where I'm stocking up. I'm actually going to shop and buying stuff. Now I've got a shopping list because I've added to it all the time, but I think it's important to have a full and complete shopping list and an efficient shopping list. So I've never been good at just like remembering, oh yeah, that's run out, I need to put that on the shopping list. I've got to do it there and then, otherwise it will get forgotten. And there's a couple of ways I do that. So if I've got my phone to hand, I'll just add it to my shopping list straight away. If not, I use Alexa. I love her so much. And I'll just say, Alexa, add milk to my shopping list, and it's done. And then what I'll do is I'll go through the list that's on Alexa and transfer it onto my phone. It's important to have it on my phone because it means that I have that phone with me all the time. Whenever I go shopping, I've got the list. I'm not faffing around trying to find it. I don't get to shops thinking, oh, I forgot my list. Now what? Alexa does give you the ability to look at the list on your phone. But what I've found is when I go to my supermarket, quite often they don't have reception, so I can't see the list. And so then I go stand outside and try and get the list up. The other thing with Alexa is that the list is in the order in which you add the items, which is not an efficient order to have when you're in the supermarket. So what I do on my phone list, so I've just got notes. On my notes section, I've got, it's split out my shop. So I've got a shopping list, and then that is split out by the different areas of the supermarket. So fruit and veg first, because that's the first bit you get to into the supermarket, followed by the meats and the fish, followed by dairy, and then condiments like store cupboard ingredients, and then bread. So that's how I kind of have those subheadings. Every time I think of something, I'll go into my my notes and then find the area that needs to go in and type it in. It sounds like it takes longer than it does. It's really, really easy, and it works so well for me. And it's all about finding whatever works for you. When to shop. So I used to shop on the way home, and it just wasn't, it didn't work. Although, like, yeah, it means I don't have to go out of my way to shop. By the time I get home, I was knackered, and I just literally put the stuff in the fridge, cook whatever I was going to cook, or use a ready meal inevitably, and that sounds fine, but it's not, because actually what I should do is, I'm going to talk about this in the next section actually, but it's prepare some of the food before I put it away. So I'll come back to that. And the other thing is where to shop. So whether you do an online shop or a supermarket shop, corner shop, or one of the express shops, like Tesco Express, for example, I would shop in different ones for different things, or different reasons. So an online shop I would use if I want to do a big shop and I've got lots of heavy, I don't have a car, so if I've got lots of heavy things that I want to carry, bulky items, then the online shop is good. So I'll reserve that for like once every month or something like that. And you know, the thought being that I can't on my own order the lower limit for ordering online at a supermarket every week, because I just don't need that much stuff. So doing it once a month means that I can, and it's not regimented to once a month, I'll just do it when I need to, but it's roughly once a month. It means I can get everything I need in, stock up, and just feel like I've got everything I need. And then what I do more often, so it's sort of maybe weekly, is go to a supermarket and do my big shop there. And that way I can get like better deals, I can get inspired by what I see in the supermarket as well, and like, you know, just change some of the things that I want to cook if I feel like it. And then I would use the express shops when, say I am out and I'm thinking, oh, I really fancy this, maybe something's run out, and I haven't replaced it with a big shop, or, you know, just bits and bobs. Maybe I might fancy something with my dinner, maybe I've got a chocolate craving, so that's when I might go to an express shop. And then the corner shop, I find doesn't tend to have the kind of things that I would normally want to eat, so I reserve the corner shop for things like milk, really milk and chocolate. You know, it's for stuff when I find myself caught out and I need to make something quickly. It might be a ready meal actually, because I don't tend to keep ready meals in my fridge that much, and I'm hungry and I haven't had time to prep my batch because maybe they've run out. Then I might go to the corner shop. So they're the different places to shop. Right, now I want to talk about prepping the food. So this stuff, all the work's been done, like all the prep's been done, we've got everything in. Now as soon as it comes into the house, whether it's an online delivery or I've been to the shops, it's important to prep the food before it goes in the fridge. And this is why it's important to, going back to the purchase bit, decide when to shop. Shopping on the way home means that once I get home I'm knackered, I'm not going to prep the food. But taking time out to go shopping, come back when I've still got time and energy, means that I will prep the food. So prepping for me means if I've got veg, so maybe I've got like carrots, courgettes, aubergines, I'll roast them up, unless I want to use them for something else. So chop them all up, wash them, chop them, coat them in a bit of oil, maybe some seasonings, maybe some herbs, depending on how I'm feeling, what I want to do with them, and then chuck them in the oven. And then once they're out, I can put them into a container, let them cool, and put them in the fridge. Done. When it comes to things like, if I've got a joint, I might put that in the oven as well while I'm preparing the vegetables. So doing that means that when it comes to eating, I'm not like, oh, I've got to cook all this other stuff now. It's kind of like, I've got that smug feeling, you know, the smug feeling I talked about when I have a batch cook meal in the freezer is that smug feeling, oh yeah, I can have my roasted veg and some couscous salad. It's really quick and easy to make, and I'm not kind of having to reach for something unhealthy or that I haven't cooked myself. So prepping when you get the food in is key. And then if you have time as well to batch cook at the same time. Quite often, sometimes I'll batch cook at the same time, sometimes I'll batch cook at a different time, because it can, by the time you've gone shopping and prepped the veg and roasted the joint and put all the shopping away, that's quite a big job. So I might want to do the batch cooking at a different time, remembering that I actually like batch cooking, so for me that's an enjoyable task as long as I have the time to do it. Now, batch cooking, when you do it, it's really important to portion it up before you put it in the freezer. Now, if you're good and you've got time, let it cool, then portion it up, then put it straight in the freezer. If you're like me, I'll put it in the fridge, and then a day or two later I'll portion it up and put it in the freezer. That's not recommended, but I know that's how I am and that's how I work, so I'm going to stick with it. So batch cooking, what I also tend to do is make enough for the freezer, but also about putting in the freezer, make sure it's portioned up. So make sure that each portion is individually wrapped and then goes in the freezer, so that you can take one portion at a time and heat that up. I've made the mistake before of putting the whole lot in the freezer, and then you take out the whole lot and you're going to have to eat the same thing for the rest of the week. So portion everything up, put it in the freezer. And then when I cook a batch cooked meal, I don't necessarily freeze all of it, so I'll have some of that to eat that day. Then I quite like having leftovers the next day. Some people don't. So I'll have another time that day, and then I might want to have it again in a couple of days' time. So I'll have 3 meals that I will keep out, and the rest of it will go in the freezer. So when I'm determining how many portions I need to batch cook, I need to do 3 extra portions, because I know that I'm going to have some myself before it goes in the freezer. Not before it goes in the freezer, and the rest will go in the freezer. And just a small tip, what I do is when I am cooking something, quite often I'll leave a little bit so that I can use that leave a bit of an ingredient so that I can use that in a different dish. So for example, if I was adding chickpeas to a casserole, instead of putting the whole tin in, I might put 3/4 of the tin in, and then save 1/4 of the tin and use the rest of that chickpeas in a salad. So it's kind of making things go further. It means that I don't have to do prep as much salad, because I've already got a little bit of the ingredient that's going to go in there. So just like reusing things, and leftovers as well. Like say if I had a dry curry, when I eat, I might not eat it all. I'll save a little bit and then maybe use that as a sandwich filling the next day. So it's kind of like making food go that bit further, kind of repurposing it, reusing it, and I always find that saves me loads of time as well. So that is my plan. That's my approach to cooking. So it's planning, lots of planning, which includes analysing. So planning, purchasing and prepping. Doing those 3 things has really helped me to get into the habit of home cooking. If you want to read the blog, it's on the blog page of my website, virtualicious.co.uk. The other thing, there are some other blogs that you might like to have a read of. There's the Quick Cook Tips blog, and at the moment we're in lockdown, so I wrote something about the 12 tips on how to kind of help you cook through lockdown, because we're faced with some extra challenges at the moment, what with not being able to get everything that we want. So we need to use alternatives and recipes and things like that. So you might want to have a look at that. And the other thing is, having gone through all this process of trying to work out how to cook, in a way that suits my style and keeps me happy and keeps me eating the kind of food I want to eat, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of work with other people to try and work out what their cooking style is and help them to get cooking homemade food on a regular basis and make it a habit. So if that's something that you're interested in, just get in touch. Details on the website. You can just message me. When you go on the website, I've got the message me thing. At the moment it says hey what's up, I might change it, and you can WhatsApp me or you can send me a messenger message, and we can find a slot if that's what you want to do. It's been really good to share all of this with you, and I'll see you soon, hopefully. Take care. Bye bye.